Writers love to preach that there are no rules, no single right way to write a novel, and that everyone is different. But here's the truth: there's one rule you can't get away with breaking if you want readers to care about your story. Because at the end of the day, you can't shortcut reader psychology. If readers don't care, they stop reading. They're wired to connect in certain ways, and if you ignore that, no amount of clever writing tricks will keep them turning the pages. The good news: you won't have to memorize every craft tip you've ever heard or be a naturally gifted writer. By the end of this video, you'll know the one thing every reader needs in order to connect with your story, and a simple way to check if it's coming across in your draft right now. Part of the reason writers struggle with this is because writing rules get misconstrued. You listen to all these general tips, try to use them to improve your on-the-page connection, but they don't seem to help your story. And honestly, taken out of the context of why you should use them, they often don't. So it makes total sense when you think the rules don't work for you. But really, when taken with their basis in the brain science behind the reader experience, those rules finally have the clarity you've been missing. That's when the rules stop feeling as repulsive and start becoming tools you can use. Rather than restriction, you'll feel the freedom they give you to make your story the immersive experience you always imagined for it. Which brings me to one of the most popular and most misconstrued pieces of writing advice about reader connection. The rule you've probably heard as write relatable characters. The problem is, even the language of that rule makes it easy to misinterpret and very easy to get wrong. The truth is that the advice to write relatable characters is one of the most misunderstood rules of all. I see writers try to make their characters relatable by giving them surface level flaws or hobbies, hoping readers will see themselves in them. Or they hold back their characters' true motivations to keep them mysterious, thinking that'll spark curiosity to create connection, or at least a hook until a much later reveal. Or they focus so much on external plot events and action that they hope the character depth will just sort of come through for readers. But it's not even clear how the character cares about those events at all. And what happens? Beta readers say they didn't connect with your story, which is so frustrating because you know the depth is there, but it's not coming across on the page. Here's the brain science-backed reality. Readers don't need to be like your character. They don't even need to like them. What they need is to understand them. Studies show that readers can care deeply about characters they don't approve of morally, assassins, tyrants, and even villains, because of cognitive empathy. When readers understand a character's motives, fears, and internal logic, their brains actually simulate those mental states. That simulation, powered by empathy networks and mirror neurons, is what makes them invest in the story, even if they never agree with the character's choices. Neuroscience also shows that when we read morally complex or ambiguous characters, it activates parts of the brain tied to social reasoning and prediction, the same areas we use to puzzle out people in real life. That's why unlikable characters can sometimes be the most compelling. Readers stay hooked because they want to understand what this person will do next and why. So, the next time you hear the word relatable in writing advice, think this. When readers understand why your character makes choices based in that unique brand of struggle that drives them, what they want, what they fear, how their past experiences shaped the way they see the world, they empathize. That's when readers start to care. That's when they get invested, even if your character is a criminal or a planetary alien. So, when you make a character understandable, even in their flaws, even in their darkness. You're giving readers the foundation for connection. That's what turns reading into an immersive, emotional experience. And if that's missing, no amount of action, witty dialogue, or clever world building will keep readers turning the pages. So let's make this tangible. Here's a simple test you can run on your draft today to make sure readers will connect with your character. Pull up any scene and ask yourself 3 questions. What does your character desire or fear in this precise moment? What are they trying to achieve or avoid right now? How does this immediate desire or fear subtly hint at their deeper, unique, specific motivations, their foundational corrupted truth, or their past experiences that shaped them? It doesn't need to be explicit backstory or info dump, but a specific, emotionally resonant detail or internal thought. Is this desire, fear, and its why conveyed through the character's direct perspective, their thoughts, feelings, unique observations, and actions, rather than simply being told or explained? If you can answer those 3 things, your reader will understand your character. And when they understand them, they'll connect with them emotionally, even if they don't agree with them or even like them. Think of a character running from a dragon. Of course they're afraid. Anyone would be. But if you show scars from a past attack or a memory of losing someone to dragon fire, suddenly that fear is specific. It's not just generic danger, it's their story. Or on a subtler note, say a character tears up when they see the ocean. For some readers, it might just be beauty or grief, but if for your character, the ocean means freedom after years trapped in a hostile country, that moment lands with power. Readers don't just see these fears, they feel why they matter. But to have that connection effect, every scene level why needs to stack together over the course of the story. Each moment of clarity about your character's motivations and fears adds another compounding layer. So at each subsequent turning point, those emotional payoffs hit with more and more power. If you'd like to make sure your whole story supports that buildup for readers to care, my spellbook outline was designed exactly for this. To help you map out the major beats so your character's motivations and transformation compound naturally, creating the kind of connection that pays off at the climax. You can grab it at inkybookworm.com/courses/spellbook in the description below. Let's look at how showing a character's why works in action. One of my favorite recent examples is Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunters, a movie my daughter is obsessed with and for good reason. Note that there will be minor spoilers ahead, but I won't give away the ending. We see Rumi, the main character, struggling with the toll of keeping her half-demon nature secret from her demon hunting friends, her K-pop girl group. It affects her both mentally and physically with her voice, which, while partly an effect of her demon side, also seems to get worse or harder to control with the stress she's under from her secret. And even a 6-year-old understands the deep conflict with all of this. Why? Because the movie doesn't just show her hiding the demon patterns on her skin. It shows us her motivation for doing so and resisting being truthful, even with her closest friends. We see snippets of her past, which reveal the weight of the warnings she's been given by her guardian, someone she loves and trusts, not to reveal herself until her patterns go away. Rumi obeys because she's always been told to keep that part of her hidden since she was a young child. And she has clearly come to believe now, reinforced by her band's success, that if she only does more and works harder against the demons to strengthen the magical shield against them once and for all, her demon patterns will be gone too. Then she won't have to struggle with her secret. It's a motivation we can see, and not only because K-pop Demon Hunters is a musical format, which gives it the ability to wear its heart on its sleeve with Rumi and others singing their innermost thoughts and feelings aloud, so we can get that quite directly for a visual medium. Something that you might note is quite comparable to the way half of a novel is actually internal stuff expressed on the page. But we also see it in Rumi's tense expression when she pushes her bandmates with the early release of their new single, when all her friends want is some well deserved couch. Or in her confessions about how torn she feels about her secret and reluctance to accept her identity, to the sympathetic human turned demon, Genu, a character she can confide in fully, especially because she doesn't have to fear him seeing or treating her any differently. His internal struggle also serves as a great mirror to highlight Rumi's arc, further enhancing this understanding of her character. She thinks that if her group can push their success, their resonant singing to unite the souls of their fans and strengthening the shield against the demons. Further, she can fulfill not only the overarching demon hunter goal, but her own as well, so she can avoid her fear of being outed as half demon and end her agony over keeping such a big secret from her most trusted friends, her found family. All of that context, as built up through her story, gives us her clear why. We don't just watch her making choices externally. We see her internal logic and unique perspective about herself and her world through these methods. And because we understand that, we empathize with her. Even if we've never fought demons or lived a double life, we feel the pressure of her choices and the toll of carrying deep shame. That's how we relate, through deep understanding. But if that weren't enough, we also get a solid understanding of her friends' motivations too, even though they aren't the protagonist focus, but other major characters. We see their quirks and insecurities called out when they take Rumi to find a remedy for her voice. And later, we get their motivations as fueled by what we call in my book coaching program, Enchant Your Readers, their inner demons of fear, quite directly through the insidious whispers of actual demon voices. In just a couple short lines, we get demons voicing their fears to them in a double gut punch, telling Mira she doesn't deserve a family, and telling Zoe she's both too much and not enough. Ugh, did that one hit a little too hard for me. And just like that, the relatability of these characters was cemented for so many fans of the movie. Not because we had these lines that do happen to be similar to many of our own fears, although that doesn't hurt. But they don't pack the same punch in isolation. Rather, because these ideas have been built up through all the other quirks, choices, dialogue, and interactions of these characters throughout the story to truly be driven home here, they carry a profound weight, one that impacts readers emotionally and therefore keeps them thinking about it and considering the challenges of these characters for their own lives as well, long after the movie is over. That's the kind of clarity you want to give your own readers. Enough insight into your characters' motivations and fears through your curated presentation so that they can understand them at every step. When readers understand the why, they're not just observing events, they're living them through your character, which is what creates that elusive connection and keeps them invested in the story even after they reach the end. What if you're concerned with how much to give away on the page, especially early on in your story because, not unlike Rumi, you have secrets that need to stay hidden until a later reveal, or maybe your character isn't supposed to be fully understood, maybe because they're an unreliable narrator. Mystery is a powerful driver for reader intrigue, but it only works when readers already understand enough to ask deeper questions. If all they have are surface actions with no glimpse into the why, they won't feel intrigued, they'll just feel confused. That doesn't mean you have to spill every secret in chapter 1. It just means that whatever your character is doing on the page at any given time has to make sense from their perspective, even if it is an unreliable one. You're giving readers enough of the why to empathize with the immediate struggle, even if the full truth is revealed later. And here's the not so secret. I want to share with you to make sure you get this part right in your story. Your character is always justifying their actions to themselves. They always have a reason, even if it's the wrong one. If you can show hints of that internal logic, their fears, their hopes, their quirky perspective, you can keep them mysterious, unreliable, or even unlikable without ever losing that vital connection. I've seen this play out with the authors in my Enchant Your Readers book coaching program too. Alex was writing an assassin protagonist that beta readers didn't like, but she wasn't supposed to be likable exactly. She was driven by guilt, shame, and some really dark coping mechanisms. And so being unlikable isn't really a problem, but we needed to make sure there wasn't another problem hiding in that feedback, like not being able to understand her or not finding her compelling despite disliking her. So we worked hard to bring some gut punch emotion into those beginning scenes, especially to let readers see more than just the tip of the iceberg of her deep characterization and past that was motivating all of her really unhealthy and messed up traits. The result was emotional connection on the page that really sings. What's more, it had the happy bonus effect of leveling up Alex's prose through more advanced metaphor techniques and layering emotion throughout his novel by loading them into motifs. If digging into these character motivations and inner truths feels like the missing piece for your story, my free Word Wizard's Journey guide includes resources to help you map your character's fears, desires, and corrupted truths. It's the blueprint for building characters readers can truly understand. You'll find the link below. So, as long as you've got this one rule down, the one you can't break if you want readers to care, you're good to go now, right? You can break any other rule as long as you know them. Well, not quite. Even when you're trying to do something really original and different. That idea is one of the more dangerous writing myths out there because breaking the rules doesn't automatically make your story stand out. In fact, it usually backfires, but I'll show you why breaking the rules won't make your story original and what actually does in the next video on your screen now.